I trusted you with one simple deal, Ethan. My uncle's voice cracked through the conference hall like a whip. And you failed. Again. My palms sweated as every pair of eyes in the room turned toward me. It wasn't my fault, I said quietly. The client changed their terms last minute. Excuses, Victoria interrupted, smirking from across the table. You've always had plenty of those. Maybe you should stop pretending you're a businessman. Her words stung deeper than I wanted to admit. I glanced toward Aunt Clara, silently begging for help. She lowered her eyes, hands folded, pretending not to hear. I worked for weeks on that project, I muttered. You know how much effort Nathan slammed his hand on the table. Effort? You think effort matters when you bring in nothing? You're a disgrace to this family's name. Laughter rippled through the room from the board members who once praised me. My throat tightened. Uncle, please, just give me a chance to fix it. There's nothing left to fix, Victoria said sharply. You're a liability. Dad, he's dragging the company down. Nathan nodded slowly. She's right. You've had your chances. We can't afford your incompetence anymore. I stared at him, heart pounding. You're cutting me out? Effective immediately, he said coldly. You're no longer part of Cole Enterprises. Security will escort you out. My chest hollowed. You can't just erase me like that, I whispered. Nathan's expression didn't flicker. Watch me, Victoria leaned back, smiling. Guess you'll finally have time to find out what being useful feels like. Her laughter echoed through the room like broken glass. I clenched my fist. You stole my proposal idea, Victoria, I said quietly. The software model you're bragging about? That was mine, she laughed harder. Oh, please. You think anyone believes you came up with something profitable? My voice rose before I could stop it. You took my draft off my desk. Nathan's tone turned icy. Enough. You've humiliated yourself enough for one day. Get out. For a moment, I just stood there, paralyzed, humiliated, furious. No one spoke. No one defended me. I could hear my own heartbeat hammering in my ears. Finally, I forced a shaky breath and said, One day, you'll regret this. Nathan scoffed. Empty words from an empty man. I turned toward the door, ignoring the murmurs. Every step felt like walking through fire. My chest ached, but I refused to let them see me break. As I reached the exit, Aunt Clara whispered faintly, Ethan. I stopped, hopeful. She hesitated, eyes glassy. I'm sorry, she whispered. I nodded once. So am I. Outside, the heavy rain had begun. I didn't have an umbrella, but I didn't care. The cold drops hit my face, masking the heat of humiliation. I walked down the mansion steps, shoes sinking into puddles. Behind me, through the glass windows, I saw them, laughing, drinking, celebrating my downfall. I whispered to myself, Family, huh? The guard at the gate looked uneasy. Mr. Ethan, should I call a cab? I shook my head. No need. The world blurred through the rain, but my mind was painfully clear. I replayed every insult, every sneer, every time they dismissed me as useless. Victoria's smirk haunted me the most. You'll never be good enough, I clenched my teeth. We'll see. A car sped past, splashing muddy water over my pants. I didn't flinch. My pride was already drenched. As I walked farther from the mansion, the rain softened, and the distant city lights came into view. The same city they said I'd never survive in without their name. I stopped beneath a flickering streetlight and looked up. Useless, I whispered, letting the word roll off my tongue like poison. That's what they think I am. The sound of thunder echoed overhead. For a moment, I let the silence stretch, my breath mixing with the rain. Then I said it, to the storm, to myself, to the night that had witnessed my fall. I'll make them remember me, every single one of them. The streetlight flickered again, and I smiled faintly. I didn't know how yet. I had no plan, no money, and no allies. But for the first time, I felt something burning beneath the shame. Resolve. I tightened my soaked coat around me and started walking again. You called me useless, I muttered, my voice low but steady. One day I'll be the reason your empire stands or falls. The rain kept falling, washing away the last traces of who I used to be. By the time I reached the end of the street, I wasn't Ethan, the broken heir anymore. I was the man they'd regret underestimating. Bro, you look like death, Jacob said as I dropped my bag beside his couch. And I mean like full zombie mode. I've had better weeks, I muttered, collapsing into the cushions. Got fired, disowned, and humiliated in one day. That's gotta be a record. Jacob tossed me a blanket. The Cole family strikes again, I sighed. Don't start, he raised an eyebrow. I'm not starting anything. But let's be honest, you built half of their empire. They just slapped their names on it. Yeah? Tell that to the shareholders, I said, staring at the ceiling. They believe whatever Victoria feeds them. Jacob leaned on the counter, shaking his head. You were the brain behind that logistics model, weren't you? The one that saved them $2 million? Doesn't matter now, I said. They'll never admit it. He tossed me a can of soda. You need to stop pitying yourself. You're free now. You can actually do something for you. I cracked open the can and took a long sip. Free and broke are not the same thing, he chuckled. True, but broke has potential. Rock bottom has nowhere left to fall. Wow, inspirational quotes from a guy who still owes me rent from last year, I said dryly. Jacob laughed. Touché. Then his tone softened. Seriously, Ethan, you've got something they never will. Integrity. You care, that's rare. I stared at the floor. Integrity doesn't pay rent, he grinned. Neither does sulking. I threw a pillow at him. Shut up. Just saying, he said, dodging it. Maybe this is your reset button. Maybe you build something new. Maybe, I said, though I didn't believe it yet. The next few days blurred together. Cheap takeout, late-night job searches, rejection emails. My savings drained fast. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Victoria's voice. Useless, useless, useless. On the 5th morning, Jacob forced me out. You're coming with me. You need sunlight. I need a miracle, I muttered. We stopped by a small cafe on the corner of Maple Street. The sign read, Moore's Coffee Haven. The place was half empty, lights dim, air heavy with the smell of burnt espresso. Perfect, Jacob said. Coffee fixes everything. As we ordered, a woman behind the counter greeted us with a tired but warm smile. Morning. Haven't seen you two around before, Jacob nudged me. He needs caffeine more than oxygen, she laughed. Rough day? Rough life, I said without thinking. Her smile faded slightly. I've had a few of those myself. We took our seats, and she brought the drinks over herself. Name's Isabel, she said. I own this place. Ethan, I replied. She tilted her head. Ethan Cole? I froze. Yeah, I said carefully. You've heard of me? Hard not to. The Cole family's all over the business section. Didn't you work with them? Not anymore, I said bitterly. Her expression softened. Their loss, Jacob grinned. Finally, someone who gets it. I sipped the coffee. It was bitter, overbrewed, but honest. This place yours? I asked. She nodded. For now. It's struggling. I bought it thinking passion could beat math. She smiled faintly. Turns out rent doesn't care about dreams. Jacob nudged me again. Sound familiar? I ignored him. You ever tried reorganizing the supply chain? Local partnerships, lean inventory. Simple fixes could save you a lot. Isabel leaned forward. You know about that stuff? I hesitated. A bit, she studied me. You mean a lot. You talk like someone who's done this before. Jacob snorted. He ran half a corporation before his family stabbed him in the back. Jacob, I warned. Isabel blinked. Wait, you ran something that big? Helped run, I corrected. They took the credit. She set down her tray. You want a job? I stared. You're serious? Completely, she said. I can't pay much, but I need someone who knows what they're doing. You could manage operations, cut waste, maybe turn this place around. Jacob grinned. Told you. Miracles and caffeine, I hesitated. Why trust a stranger? She smiled. Because you look like someone who's got nothing left to lose, and those people work the hardest. Her words hit deeper than she knew. I looked around the small cafe, the worn tables, chipped paint, broken sign, and for the first time since that night, something in me stirred. All right, I said quietly. Let's fix your cafe. Isabel extended her hand. Deal. As I shook it, I felt a spark, not the heat of anger, but the warmth of purpose. When we left that day, Jacob asked, So, boss man, what's next? I smiled faintly. Step 1, stop being useless. Step 2, build something worth remembering. He clapped my shoulder. Now that's the Ethan I know. As the sun dipped behind the skyline, I caught my reflection in the cafe window. Tired eyes, but a faint grin. Maybe Jacob was right. Maybe rock bottom wasn't the end. Maybe it was where I'd start climbing. Numbers don't lie, I said, looking over the week's sales sheet. You've officially doubled your monthly profit, Isabel. She grinned, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. That's because you made me stop ordering 50 pounds of coffee I didn't need. I smirked. And because you finally stopped giving free muffins to every sad customer. They looked miserable. She protested. That's what therapy is for, I said, and she laughed, soft and genuine. 3 months had passed since I first walked into her cafe. Every morning, I unlocked the doors before sunrise, checked inventory, trained staff, managed suppliers. It wasn't the coal empire, but it was mine. Jacob dropped by, waving a newspaper. Ethan, you're going to want to see this. I glanced up. If it's another article about the coals, I'm not interested. Just read it, he said, tossing it onto the counter. The headline hit like a slap. Coal Enterprises launches revolutionary software, projected to triple market share. My stomach twisted. Revolutionary software, I repeated quietly. Let me guess, the predictive analytics model? Jacob frowned. Wait, isn't that mine? I said. That's my design, Isabel blinked. You mean they stole it? I finished, my voice hard. Victoria stole it. The air felt heavier. The cafe noise faded around me until all I could hear was my pulse. Jacob whistled softly. Guess they're still using your ideas even after tossing you out. Of course they are, I muttered. They never created anything themselves, they just take. Isabel leaned closer. What are you going to do? I stared at the headline again. Victoria's smug photo stared back at me, her caption calling her a visionary leader. I almost laughed. What am I going to do? I said slowly. I'm going to remind them who that vision belonged to. Jacob grinned. Now that's the Ethan I missed. Isabel frowned slightly. You're not talking about revenge, are you? Call it balance, I said. They took what I built. I'll build something better, and I'll make sure the world knows it. She crossed her arms. Just be careful. Anger can eat you alive, I met her eyes. This isn't anger. It's clarity. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The espresso machine hissed quietly, the smell of roasted beans filling the silence. Finally, she said, Then make sure your revenge is worth something. Don't just destroy them, outgrow them. That line stuck with me long after she left for the night. Later, as I sat alone in the dim cafe, I pulled my old notebook from my bag, the one filled with abandoned ideas. Scribbled notes, diagrams, flowcharts. My handwriting was messy, desperate, but buried within it was potential. All right, I whispered. Let's see what they underestimated. I spent hours sketching improvements, smarter automation, ethical data systems, things the Coles would never understand. At dawn, Jacob stumbled out of the back room. You haven't slept? I shook my head. Didn't need to. He looked at the piles of paper. You're building something, aren't you? Not just something, I said. A system they can't copy. He grinned. You're serious about this? I've never been more serious. He sat across from me. Then you'll need backing, investors, someone who can push you into the big leagues. I know exactly who, I said. Who? Charles Denton, Jacob blinked. That Charles Denton? The guy who tanked his partner's billion-dollar scam just to prove a point? The same, I said, closing my notebook. He hates corruption and the Coles represent everything he despises, Jacob whistled. You think he'll listen to you? He'll listen if I show him what I've built. Isabel entered just as I stood to leave. You're leaving early? I've got someone important to meet, I said. She tilted her head. Then promise me something. What? Don't lose yourself trying to beat them. You're better than they ever were. Her words lingered like warmth against cold steel. I'll remember that, I said quietly. Outside, the city buzzed with early traffic. I pulled my coat tighter and walked with purpose. Every step felt lighter, sharper, like each movement carved away the weakness they once branded me with. At the corner, I looked up at the tall glass tower where Coal Enterprises' logo gleamed against the sky. You built your empire on my ideas, I murmured. Now watch me build one that buries yours. The morning sun cut through the clouds, bright and relentless. I smiled faintly. Time to start. Mr. Denton doesn't take casual meetings, Jacob said as we waited in the marble lobby. You sure he'll listen? He'll listen, I replied. He just doesn't know it yet. The elevator opened with a soft chime. A tall assistant approached. Mr. Denton will see you now. Inside, the office felt more like a command center. Panoramic skyline, minimalist desk, quiet power. Charles Denton stood by the window, gray hair slicked back, gaze sharp as glass. So, he said, turning, "You're Ethan Cole, the exile." "I prefer independent thinker," I said. He smirked faintly. "And what brings you here? Revenge?" "Reinvention," I replied. "But if it burns a few bridges along the way, I won't complain." He gestured to the seat. "You've got 5 minutes." "Convince me," I placed my tablet on the table. "This," I said, opening the prototype. "Adaptive predictive AI, ethical, transparent, and faster than anything Cole Enterprises has." He leaned closer. "And what makes yours different?" "It learns without exploiting users' data," I said. "It respects privacy, adapts ethically, and costs a fraction of their bloated system." "It's everything their model pretends to be." Denton studied me for a long moment. "You're angry." "No," I said. "I'm awake." That earned a small laugh. "You've got nerve, Cole." "Ethan," I corrected. "I left the name, but not the mind." He paced slowly. "Why should I invest in you? I could build my own team." "Because you don't just want profit," I said. "You want to expose corruption. I can give you both." Silence hung for a second. Then he asked, "You think your tech can actually beat theirs?" "I don't think," I said. "I know." He turned to the window again, hands behind his back. "How much are you asking for?" $10 million to start, I said. "And full creative control," he laughed. "You're bold. I learned from thieves. They taught me what real value looks like." His laughter faded, replaced by a calculating stare. "You've got a deal, on one condition." "Name it." "You don't flinch when the game gets dirty." "Because they'll come for you." "I'm counting on it," I said. He extended his hand. "Then welcome to war." When I shook his hand, something electric surged through me, like I was reclaiming every piece they'd stripped away. 2 weeks later, the sign gleamed on the glass door, ECL Innovations, Ethan Cole Legacy. Jacob whistled. "You actually named it after yourself." "Not after myself," I said. "After the version of me they tried to kill." Isabel set a folder on my desk. "Investments finalized. Charles is moving fast. He's already calling media outlets." I looked up. "Good. Let them hear the noise before they know where it's coming from." She smiled faintly. "You're enjoying this." "I'm building this," I said. "That's different," Jacob chuckled. "You sure? Because it feels like you're preparing to drop a bomb." "Maybe both," I said. "We worked day and night." Isabel handled finances like a hawk. Every number balanced, every risk calculated. Jacob coordinated the tech team, pushing deadlines without mercy. The first demo worked flawlessly. Our AI predicted consumer patterns weeks ahead of competitors. Jacob grinned. "That's it. That's our weapon." I stared at the glowing interface. "No, that's our redemption." A week later, a tech journalist called. "Mr. Cole, is it true a new startup just outperformed Cole Enterprises' flagship software?" I smiled. "Who told you that?" "Anonymous source," she said. "Rumor says it's you." "Rumors are fun," I replied. "Print what you want." When the article went live, chaos erupted online. Anonymous innovator outpaces Cole Enterprises. Analysts speculated, competitors panicked, and shareholders demanded answers. Charles called that night. "You've rattled the industry. I haven't seen this kind of frenzy in years." "Let them keep guessing," I said. He laughed. "They'll find out soon enough." "I'm counting on it." After the call, Isabel leaned against my desk. "You've changed. How so?" "There's fire in your eyes again," she said softly. "But it's controlled now." "I'm not chasing revenge anymore," I said. "I'm shaping it." Jacob entered, holding a newspaper. "The Coles are panicking. Their board's meeting tomorrow." "You really got them." I looked at the headline. Victoria's smiling face, cracks beginning to show in the empire behind her. "Good," I said. "Let her wonder who's coming." Isabel smiled faintly. "You think she'll recognize your work?" "Oh, she'll recognize it," I said. "Right before it replaces hers." That night, as the city lights shimmered beyond the window, I stood alone in the office. The glow of the monitors reflected off the ECL logo, silver and sharp. For the first time in years, I felt power, real, earned, unstoppable. They made me an outcast, I whispered. Now I'll make them obsolete. Cole Enterprises stock dropped another 6% today, Jacob said, sliding the report across my desk. I skimmed the numbers, lips curving slightly. Panic suits them. Victoria's been on every business channel denying a crisis, he added. Nathan blamed her for mismanaging the software division. Predictable, I said. Fear makes them cannibalize each other. Isabel looked up from her laptop. You sound almost happy. I'm efficient, I replied. Happiness is a side effect, she frowned softly. Just don't lose yourself in it. I already lost myself once, I said. Now I'm building something sharper. I turned to Jacob. The proxies. Are the purchases in place? 5 shell accounts spread through Hong Kong, Dubai, and Zurich. Each holds small parcels of Cole Enterprises stock. Together you now own 3.8%. I smiled. Soon they'll be paying dividends to the man they exiled. Jacob grinned. You're becoming what they fear most, a ghost with control. Not a ghost, I corrected. A shadow with a purpose. My phone buzzed. An unknown number, I answered. Ethan Cole, a familiar voice spoke, low and tense. It's Ryan Blake, we need to meet. I leaned back. Victoria's fiancé calling me? That's unexpected. Not on her behalf, he said. Mine. I know things you'll want. Then talk. Not on the phone. Cafe at 9th and Hill, 10 tonight. He hung up before I could answer. Jacob raised a brow. That's a setup. Probably, I said. But if Ryan's desperate, it means they're bleeding. Isabel crossed her arms. You're going? I always meet the rats before the ship sinks. That night, the cafe lights flickered against the rain. I spotted Ryan in the corner, collar up, expression strained. He looked less like a corporate prince and more like a man cornered. Ethan, he greeted, forcing a smirk. Didn't think you'd come. Curiosity kills slower than fear, I said, sitting opposite him. He leaned forward. I can feed you inside information, contracts, investor lists, even their next acquisition plans. And what do you want in return? Money, he said bluntly. And safety. When Cole Enterprises collapses, I don't want to go down with them. I studied him quietly. So you're selling your fiancée for a payout? She'd do the same to me, he said coldly. We both know what kind of people they are. And you're different? I asked. He hesitated. I'm smarter. I know when to switch sides. Then you're a useful traitor, I said. For now, he frowned. Meaning? Meaning, I said. I'll pay for what you bring me. But every lie you tell me will cost you twice as much. I'm not lying, he said defensively. Everyone lies, Ryan. The difference is who benefits from it. He swallowed hard. Do we have a deal? I extended my hand. We do. His grip was weak, uncertain. You'll regret crossing them, he said. Maybe, I replied. But I'll enjoy every step before I do. When he left, I stayed behind, watching his reflection fade into the streetlights. Jacob called as I stepped outside. How'd it go? He's desperate. He'll betray them for cash. Can we trust him? No, I said. That's why I'll make sure he exposes himself before he can expose me. I arrived at the office past midnight. Isabel waited by the window, arms folded. You look like you've been playing with fire. I prefer to call it strategy. Ryan Blake isn't trustworthy, she said. He'll sell you out if it benefits him. I'm counting on that, I said. She frowned. You're using him? Exactly as they used me, I replied. It's only fair, her voice softened. You're starting to sound like them. Then maybe that's what it takes to beat them. I sat down, pulling up Ryan's contact file. He thinks he's playing me. Let's make sure the audience sees who's really pulling strings. Jacob sent another update. Stock dropped again after Denton's press release. Nathan's calling emergency meetings. They're losing millions daily. Perfect, I said. The fear's working. Ethan, Isabel said quietly. What happens when they find out it's you? They won't, I said. Not until I'm sitting across their boardroom table as a shareholder. She shook her head. You're dangerous when you smile like that. Good, I said. They taught me how. Later that night, I watched the news. Nathan shouting at reporters. Victoria's tight smile cracking as journalists questioned her leadership. I muted the TV and whispered, Now you feel it, the fear you gave me. My reflection in the glass looked calm, colder. I'm not the broken air anymore, I said softly. I'm the storm you built. The chandeliers above the ballroom glittered like judgmental eyes. Laughter, perfume, and false smiles filled the air. I adjusted my tie, feeling the calm pulse of purpose in my veins. Ethan, Isabel whispered beside me. You don't have to do this tonight. I've waited years for this, I said. Tonight they see what they made. My name echoed faintly through the murmurs as I stepped into the crowd. Heads turned. Recognition spread like fire. Victoria Cole stood near the stage, wrapped in silver silk, a glass of champagne trembling in her manicured hand. Her smile faltered the instant she saw me. Ethan? She whispered, voice cracking. You're supposed to be... gone? Broken? Useless? I finished for her, walking closer. Pick whichever lie helped you sleep. Her lips parted, then tightened. You have no right to be here. Then call security, I said evenly. But you won't. You want to know how I got invited. She forced a laugh, but her voice shook. This gala is for industry leaders. You don't belong here. Strange, I said, because my company's name is right next to yours on the sponsor list. Her color drained. That's impossible. I leaned in slightly. You'd be amazed what a little competence can accomplish once it's not buried under your ego. She hissed. You think running a cafe and conning some investors makes you equal to us? No, I said softly. It makes me the one who learned from your mistakes. Her eyes darted to Isabel standing a few feet away. And who's she? Another charity case you're pretending to save? Careful, Victoria, I said, smiling faintly. You're projecting again. Her mask cracked. You stole from us. Funny, I replied. I was thinking the same about you. The room's chatter softened. People were watching now, smelling the tension like blood in water. She lowered her voice. Why are you here, Ethan? What do you want? I wanted to see if guilt still looked good on you, I said. Turns out it doesn't. You always played the victim, she said bitterly. Maybe we were right to cut you off, right? I laughed quietly. You took my proposal, mocked me, and turned it into your empire's backbone. And you're proud of that? Her eyes flickered. Business is business. Then don't cry when the market changes, I said. Because it just did. Before she could reply, a familiar voice boomed behind her. What the hell is going on here? Nathan Cole. His presence still carried arrogance, but now there was a hint of desperation under it. Uncle Nathan, I greeted. It's been a long time, he froze. Ethan. I heard rumors, but alive and well, I said. Surprised? His jaw tightened. You have nerve showing your face here after everything you cost this family. What I cost? I repeated, laughing. You mean the part where you stole my work and called me worthless? He snapped, That's ancient history. Then why are your stocks still falling? I asked calmly. The surrounding guests grew quiet. Cameras angled toward us. Whispers rippled through the hall. Nathan's voice dropped to a growl. You've been interfering with our business. I've been investing, I said. Strategically, Victoria's eyes widened. What do you mean investing? I said, pulling a folded document from my pocket. The debt your board's been panicking over? The silent investor who owns a controlling portion of your loans? I handed it to her. That's me. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded the page. Her eyes darted over the numbers, disbelief draining her face. Nathan snatched it from her hands, scanning it. No, this can't be real. Oh, it's real, I said. You mortgaged your empire to me without knowing. You bastard, he hissed. Careful, I said softly. You're insulting your new creditor. Gasps erupted around us. The host tried to hush the commotion, but the damage was done. Reporters were already lifting their phones. Victoria's voice broke. Why? Why would you do this to your own family? Because you made me forget what family means, I said. Now I remember. Nathan's face flushed red. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, turning away. But tonight the world sees who you really are. Ethan, Victoria shouted, voice shaking. You can't destroy us. We built everything. I looked back at her. No, Victoria. You built it on my ideas. I'm just taking back what was mine. The cameras flashed. Nathan's hand slammed the table. Victoria's glass shattered. I straightened my jacket, calm amid chaos. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Drinks are on me. As I walked out, the music stuttered, the lights dimmed slightly, and whispers filled the silence I left behind. Isabel caught up beside me. "You really did it." "I told you," I said quietly. "Tonight wasn't revenge. Then what was it?" she asked. "Truth," I said, stepping into the cool night air. "And truth always makes the guilty panic first." Coal Enterprises stocks hit record lows. After new fraud allegations, the reporter's voice echoed from the TV. An anonymous source provided documents revealing years of manipulation and stolen intellectual property. I muted the screen and leaned back in my chair. The words anonymous source lingered in the silence like a secret only I could smile about. Jacob stepped into the office, holding a newspaper. "It's everywhere, Ethan. The whole city's talking about it." "Good," I said quietly. "Let them finally see the truth," he grinned. "Eleanor Shaw's article is brutal. She basically dissected their entire empire line by line." "I read it," I said. "She did better than I expected." Isabel looked up from her desk. "You trust her?" "I don't trust anyone," I replied. "But I trust results," she sighed. "You leaked those files, didn't you?" I didn't answer. She already knew. Jacob chuckled. "Nathan's finished. Investigations, audits, frozen assets. He's drowning," I nodded. "And Victoria?" He smirked. "Ryan Blake left her. He's already selling interviews to gossip outlets." I gave a small laugh. "Karma works fast when greed leads the way." Isabel crossed her arms. "You sound almost pleased." "Almost," I said, but truthfully, I wasn't sure what I felt. Satisfaction should have tasted sweeter. The doorbell chimed. Isabel frowned. "Expecting someone?" "No," I said. She opened the door and froze. A trembling voice spoke. "Ethan." It was Clara, my aunt. Her hair was gray now, her eyes swollen. She looked smaller than I remembered. "Clara," I said quietly. She hesitated at the doorway. "May I come in?" I gestured toward the sofa. "Of course." She sat down slowly, wringing her hands. I've been watching everything on the news. Nathan's being charged, Victoria's hiding, and it's all falling apart." I stayed silent. Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't stop them when they hurt you." I stayed quiet. I told myself I couldn't interfere, but that was cowardice. Her voice cracked. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. You didn't deserve any of it." For a long moment, I said nothing. The words I'd wanted to hear for years finally reached me, but they didn't heal like I thought they would. "I know," I said softly. She looked up. "Can you ever forgive me?" I met her eyes. "You're the only one who ever looked away instead of laughing." "That's enough." A tear rolled down her cheek. "You're a better man than any of them." I gave a faint smile. "No, Clara, I'm just a man who learned from pain." She nodded, wiping her tears. "You remind me of your mother." She'd be proud. Something tightened in my chest. "I hope so." When she left, Isabel sat beside me. "You forgave her," she said quietly. "She didn't need punishment," I said. "She punished herself enough." "And the others?" I looked out the window where rain streaked against the glass. "They'll face justice their own way." Jacob walked in again, holding his phone. "You're trending online. Headlines are calling you the genius the Coles threw away." I gave a dry laugh. "Same mouths that called me useless now praise me like a miracle." He grinned. "Public opinion changes fast when success smells good." "Maybe," I said. "But they're still the same people. They just clap for whoever stands on the stage." Isabel smiled softly. "You sound tired." "I am," I admitted. "I thought revenge would feel like freedom. But it just feels quiet." She reached out, touching my hand gently. "Maybe that's what peace sounds like." "Peace," I repeated. "It's been so long since I've had any." The television flickered again. Nathan Cole being escorted by officials, reporters shouting his name. Victoria's photo flashed next, her face hollow, her empire gone. Jacob whistled. "You really ended them." I shook my head. "They ended themselves. I just showed the world the cracks." Isabel studied me. "So what now?" I smiled faintly. "Now I build something worth keeping." "Without revenge?" She asked. "Without hate," I corrected. "I've already given them enough of my life." She nodded slowly. "And if they ask for forgiveness?" "I'll give them silence," I said. "It's the loudest answer there is." For a moment, the room was still. Just rain, the faint hum of computers, and the weight of an ending I never imagined I'd live to see. Jacob broke the silence. You know, Ethan, you're not useless anymore, I smiled faintly. No, Jacob, I never was. Outside, thunder rolled, a sound both final and freeing. The empire that once buried me was gone. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel anger. I felt empty, but free. The knock came just past midnight. Soft, hesitant, like guilt wrapped in silence. I hesitated before opening the door. When I did, Victoria stood there drenched from the rain, makeup ruined, eyes hollow. Ethan, her voice cracked. Can I come in? I stepped aside without a word. She walked in slowly, dripping water onto the floor. You have a beautiful place, she murmured, forcing a trembling smile. Quiet. Peaceful. You always liked quiet, didn't you? I didn't respond. I simply watched her, this woman who once smiled while tearing my world apart. She swallowed hard. You've changed. I had to, I said. The old me wouldn't have survived. Her shoulders slumped. I didn't come to fight. Then why are you here? I asked. She looked at me, eyes red. Because I have nowhere else to go. For a moment, the sound of rain filled the silence between us. I lost everything, Ethan, she whispered. The company, the house, the friends who only stayed for money. Even Ryan left, I folded my arms. So now you come to the man you once destroyed? I didn't come for sympathy, she said quickly. I came for truth. Truth? I repeated. Yes. Her voice shook. I need to understand how you did it. How you became what they all said you couldn't be. I let out a quiet laugh. You mean how I became you? Her eyes widened. That's not fair, isn't it? I asked. You lied, stole, and manipulated everyone who loved you. I just learned your rules. She took a step closer. I was jealous, Ethan, of your calmness, your decency. You had nothing, but everyone still liked you. Do you know what that felt like for me? I met her gaze. You could have tried kindness instead of envy. I tried, she shouted, voice cracking. But every time I did, Nathan called me weak. He said love makes you stupid. I believed him. Maybe you wanted to believe him, I said. It's easier than facing yourself. Her lip trembled. You think I don't know that? Every night I see your face in my head. The look you gave me when we signed those papers, when I took everything. I said nothing. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I thought if I destroyed you, I'd feel powerful. But all I felt was empty. The power never came. Only shame. You're feeling it now, I said quietly. She nodded. Yes, and it's unbearable. Good, I said. Maybe that means there's still something human left in you. She winced. I deserve that, silence again. She wiped her face, smearing the makeup further. I didn't come to beg. I just wanted to tell you I understand now what I did, who I became. And what are you now? I asked. A ghost, she whispered. A shadow of the woman I pretended to be. Her honesty unsettled me. I'd spent years waiting to see her break, but standing there, shattered, she didn't look like the villain I remembered, just a lost human being. Ethan. She hesitated. Can you forgive me? I looked into her eyes. They were filled with the same fear I once carried. No, I said finally. Forgiveness isn't mine to give, she flinched. Then what is? I stepped closer, lowering my voice. A warning, her breath hitched. A warning? You made me who I am, I said. Every lie, every humiliation, every betrayal, you built this version of me. You taught me how to survive. But you don't get to cry over the monster you created. Her tears fell faster. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Neither did I said. But here we are. She stared at me for a long moment, then whispered, I wish I'd loved you instead of feared you. I almost said something, but stopped. Some things didn't deserve answers. She turned toward the door, shoulders trembling. Goodbye, Ethan. I didn't move. Goodbye, Victoria. The door closed softly behind her. For a while, I just stood there, listening to the rain again. My reflection in the window stared back, calm, cold, unreadable. I thought I'd feel triumph watching her crumble. Instead, I felt something heavier. Pity. Maybe mercy wasn't in words or forgiveness. Maybe it was restraint, choosing not to strike when the enemy already bled from their own wounds. I poured myself a drink, watching the rain blur the city lights. For the first time, I didn't think of revenge. I thought of peace. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. The ink on the acquisition papers dried with a sound that felt final, like the closing of a coffin. "Congratulations, Mr. Cole," my lawyer said, smiling as he handed me the pen. "ECL Innovations officially owns all remaining Cole assets." I nodded, the name echoing in my head. Cole, once a curse, now a symbol. When I arrived at the old family mansion, the iron gates creaked open, revealing the golden letters newly placed on the front archway. ECL Estate. My initials. My legacy. I ran my hand across the letters, cold and sharp. "Looks different now," I murmured. Jacob, standing beside me, smirked. "You sure you want to go in alone?" "I have to," I said. "This house took everything from me. It's time it gives something back, even if it's just peace." He nodded. "I'll wait outside then. Just don't burn the place down." A faint smile crossed my lips. Tempting. Inside, the mansion smelled the same, old oak, polish, and memories I never asked for. As I stepped into the grand hall, I could almost hear Nathan's voice echoing. "You're a disappointment, Ethan," and Victoria's cruel laughter following it. A burden to the family name. Now the chandeliers they once dined beneath hung over my silence. I stopped before the portrait of Nathan.
Victoria and Clara. My younger self stood in the corner of that memory, forgotten.
"Unwanted," I whispered. "Look at me now." The emptiness answered back. "Talking to ghosts?" a familiar voice said behind me. I turned. Clara stood at the doorway, dressed in simple clothes, no longer the regal woman she once was. Her eyes softened when she saw me. "Clara," I said quietly. "You shouldn't be here." "It's still home," she replied, "even if it no longer belongs to us." I studied her face, age and regret written in fine lines. "Why did you come?" She stepped forward, clasping her hands. "To thank you, for not destroying us completely." I shook my head. "I didn't spare anyone, Clara. The market did that." She smiled faintly. "No, you could have buried us deeper. But you didn't. That's mercy, even if you don't want to admit it." I looked away. "Mercy isn't what this was. It's business." She tilted her head. "You sound like Nathan." The words hit harder than I expected. She sighed. "You've built something magnificent, Ethan, but tell me, does it make you happy?" I hesitated. "It makes me free. That's not the same," she said softly. Silence hung between us. I still remember the boy who used to sneak into the library to draw plans for things no one believed in, she whispered. "That boy wasn't chasing revenge." "That boy died here," I said flatly. Her eyes glistened. "Then maybe it's time to let him live again." I didn't respond. The words lingered, unwanted yet true. She looked around one last time, tears forming. "Goodbye, Ethan." When she left, the mansion felt larger, emptier. I wandered to the dining room, running my fingers along the long table where my humiliation began. "You called me useless," I muttered to the air, "but your empire needed my mind to survive." The chandelier flickered above me as if the house itself remembered. My phone buzzed. Isabel's name lit up the screen. I answered, my voice quieter than usual. "Hey, you did it," she said, her tone warm. "It's all yours now." "Yeah," I said. "Everything." "You don't sound proud," she noted. "I thought I would be," I admitted. "But standing here, it feels like winning a war where no one survived." She was silent for a moment. "Then maybe stop fighting, Ethan. Start living." Her words sank deep. "Maybe you're right. Come home," she said gently. "We're waiting for you." I looked once more at the long, empty hallway. The marble floor reflected a stranger's face back at me. Mine, but colder. "Yeah," I whispered. "I'll be home soon." When I stepped outside, Jacob leaned against the car. "You done?" "Yeah," I said, glancing back. The house finally looked small. He raised an eyebrow. "Funny how that works." As we drove away, the mansion faded in the rearview mirror, a monument to everything I lost and everything I became. For years, that house was my prison. Now it was just property, and for the first time I didn't feel hatred or pride. Only closure. I rested my head against the seat and let out a long breath. The boy who walked out of that house years ago never came back, but the man who did, finally, left it behind. The morning sun spilled across the wooden floor, warm and gentle, so different from the cold boardrooms and marble halls I once lived in. "Coffee's ready," Isabel called from the kitchen. I smiled, stretching as I walked toward her voice. "You still make it stronger than any sane person would," she chuckled. "And you still drink it anyway." "Old habits," I said, taking the cup from her. "They die slower than pride." She leaned on the counter, watching me. "You've changed, you know. Hopefully for the better. For the calmer," she corrected. "I haven't seen you talk about business in months. You used to breathe strategy." I looked out the window at the quiet fields beyond our small lake house. Strategy kept me alive back then. "Peace keeps me alive now," she smiled softly. "You sound like a poet, or a man who finally stopped running." We sat at the table, the hum of the morning breeze filling the silence. She slid a newspaper toward me. "You might want to see this." The headline read, "Victoria Cole opens community center for underprivileged youths." I stared at it for a long moment. Her photo showed her wearing plain clothes, hair tied back, smiling faintly beside a group of kids. "She looks different," Isabel said carefully. "Yeah," I murmured. "Different. What do you feel?" I thought for a moment. Not what I expected, no anger. No satisfaction, just relief. Isabel tilted her head. "Relief?" "She's finally found something real," I said. For years she chased wealth like it could fill her emptiness. Now maybe she's learning what it means to build instead of destroy. Isabel folded the paper. "And you?" "I built my empire from ashes," I said quietly. "But this piece is what I really wanted. I just didn't know it then." She reached across the table, her hand brushing mine. "You earned it," I smiled faintly. "I used to think revenge would fix me. Turns out love and silence did." She laughed softly. "You're sounding wiser by the day." "Don't get used to it." We sat in easy quiet for a while, watching sunlight dance on the water. Jacob called later that afternoon. His voice came through cheerful as ever. "Boss, you see the new numbers? ECL's profits are off the charts again." "Still calling me boss, huh?" I said. "I thought we retired that title." "Old habits," he said, echoing my earlier words. "You sure you don't want to come back to headquarters next quarter?" "The board keeps asking for you." I looked at Isabel, who was reading by the window, her hair glowing in the sunlight. "Tell them the company runs fine without me." "Maybe better," Jacob laughed. "Never thought I'd see the day you'd choose fishing over meetings." "Neither did I admitted. "But here we are," he paused. "You happy, Ethan?" That question lingered longer than it should have. "I am," I said finally. "For the first time, I don't feel like I'm proving anything." Jacob's voice softened. "Then I'll stop bugging you. Just don't disappear forever, okay?" "I won't," I promised. "But if I do, you'll find me where the sunrise looks kinder." We hung up, and I stepped outside. The air smelled like pine and freedom. Isabel joined me on the porch, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders. "You miss it sometimes, don't you?" "The thrill. The power." "Sometimes," I admitted. "But then I remember what it cost me. And I'd rather have this." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Then you've already won." We watched the sky change, orange melting into gold, then fading into soft pink. The lake reflected every color, calm and unbroken. "I wasn't useless," I whispered, almost to myself. Isabel looked up. "What?" "Nothing," I said, smiling faintly. "Just something I needed to say." She touched my hand. "You never were." Her words settled in me like sunlight through clouds, gentle, forgiving, final. The world felt still. No audience, no enemies, just peace. As the first rays of dawn touched the horizon, I whispered again. I wasn't useless. I was just waiting to rise. The light grew brighter, washing over the trees, the water, the quiet life I'd built. For years, I thought power was my redemption, but peace was my victory. I closed my eyes and let the warmth fill me. The past was gone. The empire was stable. The noise had faded, and somewhere inside that silence I found myself again. The boy they broke. The man who rebuilt. The soul that finally rested. The sun climbed higher and I smiled. This time, the light was mine.